So, disparity does not equal to depravity? Coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Conversation Logical Reason. And as always, I want to say thank y'all for joining me today. So if you pay attention to the arguments from any of these race hustlers or the brainwashed blacks that listen to them, one thing that you would notice is that their arguments are always, or for the most part, rooted in a disparity. In other words, they'll find any disparity in society in which black people are not equal to white people, or any area in which black folks are lagging behind white people in any statistical data, any category, and they will use that disparity as evidence of racism, of systemic racism against black people, such as, you hear them talk about mass incarceration of black people, or black folk get more time for the same crime, or educational output. These are all end result. Again, these are all the end result of statistical data they'll find in which black people are lagging behind, and they'll use that as their evidence, which is basically the basis of end result thinking. This is where I came up with the concept of end result thinking. Listening to these race hustlers, always finding end result somewhere in society, some statistical data that's all a metric of end result, and using that as evidence of racism. Well, here's the problem with that, is that the end result is not the evidence. The evidence would be the how you got there, what was done, the behavior that caused it. I mean, to say that an end result is racism is just assuming, unless you have the evidence that there was racism that actually caused the end result. So for instance, let's look at mass incarceration of black people. If you look at the statistics, you'll see that blacks represent something like 39, 40, almost 50%, 45% of prison inmates in America, but we're only 13% of the population. So somebody will look at that end result and say, well, wait a minute, why are all these black people incarcerated in mass? What's going on? Why is there so many black people in jail? It's disproportional. And they'll say, well, it must be because of systemic racism, right? Well, that's an assumption. They don't look at what they don't do is they never look at the mass crime that committed by black people that leads to the mass incarceration. So they ignore the mass crime because the mass crime don't support their narrative. They look at the mass incarceration, and then they'll march or protest and act a fool, constantly being on social media, even though they're being disenfranchised, and so on and so forth, and complaining that, well, look at this disparity, it must be racism. But no, the disparity doesn't equal to depravity. I mean, just because there's a disparity somewhere in society doesn't mean that there was some depraved organizations or some group of people who act badly to create it. Sometimes disparity exists because of legitimate reasons, and that legitimate reason oftentimes with black people is black people do less of what it takes to earn. When we talk about the income gap between white people, well, if white people are doing more of what it takes to earn income, then of course they're going to earn more. That's the same reason why Asian people have the highest income per capita, because they do more of what it takes to earn it. There's a reason why Asian children have the highest academic performance. It's not because of systemic racism. No, because they do more homework. They average I saw a stat where they average nearly almost 10 hours of homework a week, whereas in black people, maybe 2 hours of homework a week. So they do more homework, and therefore they're going to be better. They're going to make better grades. That's just common sense. But it's not because of some racism, not because of some racist teacher, the racist school system decided to keep black kids lesser grades. No, because they just prepare less, and they put in less work to get the grades. Again, perfect examples of why disparity does not equal to depravity. And again, if you pay attention to these leftist arguments, these race hustlers, and I always say blacks and race hustlers, but it's leftists in general. If you notice, all of their arguments is rooted in disparity. Same thing with the gender pay gap. You know, the gender pay gap, these females, these feminists keep talking about a pay gap, even though the pay gap was debunked in the 70s when they created the narrative. And despite the fact that it's been debunked since the 1970s, you still hear people going on about the gender pay gap, but it's all based on a disparity of them assuming some depraved organization or some group, some horrible, despicable group creating this, but no, there's reasons why it happened. Anyway, y'all, if you ever hear any black folks, these race hustlers, these brainwashed blacks, or anybody in general on the left complaining about the disparities and using the disparity as evidence of racism, well, now you know, and knowing it's half the battle. And as always, 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 y'all, and until next time.